Welcome to Building People, Companies, and Careers, brought to you by AccruePartners. I'm Amy Pack.
And I'm Patty Comer. We're your host on this journey through the vibrant business landscape in the Queen City.
This podcast is an extension of our mission statement at AccruePartners, where we have spent over 20 years fostering connections and building relationships.
Whether you're a client, candidate, or business influencer in Charlotte, this podcast is for you.
We are immensely grateful for your support throughout our journey, and now through this podcast, we're excited to share the stories that have defined our path.
So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Building People, Companies, and Careers, brought to you by AccruePartners. I'm your host, Patty Comer, and I have with me today my business partner, Amy Pack.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be back here for yet another episode.
We're the co-founders of AccruePartners, and in this podcast, we are bringing you clients, internal team members, candidates, and anyone who shakes the business scene here in Charlotte, North Carolina. With us today, I have Paul Rundzieher, our Executive Vice President of Project Consulting Solutions at AccruePartners.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We're happy to have you today.
Appreciate it.
So, Paul, at the beginning of each episode, we like to start off with the classic interview question. Tell me about yourself.
Oh, wow. So, I guess number one, I'm from New Jersey. So it sort of defines me a little bit. And but crazy enough, I ended up going to school at Clemson. And it sort of gave me an introduction and a love for the South. And so while I migrated back up north to work, where I met my lovely wife of 29 years, 30 years this May, we decided, we were relocated down here and to Charlotte, and we discovered the Charlotte region. We moved away, and we eventually came back on our choice. As my job evolved, I was able to move back to the Charlotte area with our two kids. So it's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Well, welcome to AccruePartners. We're happy to have you today on the podcast. Part of the reason of inviting you was as AccruePartners is in a big pivotal portion of our trajectory. We've been in business almost 23 years. I was thinking about it this weekend, going on our 23rd year. We really felt a need internally to make a change. Amy and I had been at this for 22 years, and we love the talent business that we're in, the human capital component, but we really felt like the staffing industry was starting to change, and we were changing the value proposition we were bringing. So I think looking for you last year was a journey. It's been a year coming up, and we spent a year, changing, developing, and identifying who we want to be. So we're super excited to share that story today and learn about how you're going to impact the community here and what the Charlotte scene looks like in the consulting business.
Yep. Yeah. And there's been a lot of change, with us the past year, and there's been a lot of change the last couple of decades in the consulting scene. And I think, we're coming to the market in that space at the right time, where there's been some pivot, as you said, not just for your business, but for the industry.
Right. Awesome.
So I always like to tell people, Paul, we are our own worst customer, and we actually had to pay a retained firm to find you. And you always laugh. It took us 9 months to birth you. You've started, and now you're coming up on your year. So now you're a 1-year-old with us.
Yeah.
But I guess reflecting on the journey and us becoming what we are looking at as a total talent solutions provider, from where we were, as Patty was talking about it being a pivot for us. Share with us what was really attractive to AccruePartners in bringing you here to really help stand up this practice.
Yeah. There's so much, really. I mean, number one, this role is really a culmination of everything that I've developed in my career. I started in accounting and audit. You guys really started your focus in the accounting area. I took a pivot into consulting as part of a large implementation of a system, and realized that I really enjoyed making companies' processes and business better, and that helped me change my career. And you guys were looking to extend and expand and change the focus to some extent of the business. And so along the way, I've learned that I really like to build more so than maintain. My last role, while I helped build a practice, I moved more into a maintenance role. And so you add that all up, right? The focus that you guys have in the market, the history that you had and success, the background I had, it just all came together at the right time. It didn't hurt that when I met you, I really liked you guys, and we're the same sort of demographic, and that kind of went together. And so, yeah, I think personally and professionally, it was just the right place for me at the right time. So thanks for finding me. I hate that you had to spend the money to find me, but thank you.
Hey, you don't want to be your own worst customer, and sometimes you have to hire an expert. And in our case, we actually did a national search.
Mm-hmm.
We did interview some lovely candidates locally, but we knew that this was really important to our future. So I think more than anything, we were real surprised that you were in our backyard, and that we had the opportunity to get public accounting experience, a CPA, consulting experience, staffing experience,
Yep.
to help us move from traditional staffing to talent solutions. It's not that we're abandoning our core, we're just elevating the direction in which we're going. The staffing industry was really starting to fragment in 08, 09 when the last recession hit us. Amy and I were very scared that we might have actually become obsolete. There was a whole conversation around, if you didn't participate in the vendor management tools or the supply chain procurement labor purchasing spend, that staffing or talent could go out of, you might not be relevant. So we spent a decade, maybe 12 years now.
Mm-hmm.
We have our mid-market, that's our bread and butter. That's who we really are. Relationship, high touch business. And then the VMS MSP business, it was good for a while until Amy and I really started to go and reflect on our tagline, which is building people, companies, and careers. And we just started to really question if we were able to really stay aligned to that core mission statement if a computer system was driving a career. And it doesn't matter if you're a contract or a consultant or direct hire, if you're relying on systems to manage your career, Amy and I just don't believe that people are going to make lifelong decisions off of, a computer system. It's good to have a model and data and all that stuff. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you want to talk to somebody about your career decisions. So the pivot, really on the talent side is there. How do you see, in your words, we know what we've been trying to pivot and move towards. How do you see our new direction versus our old? How does that feel to you?
Yeah, it's great. It still stays central to building people, company, and careers. Matter of fact, I think what we're doing enhances that, right? The consulting industry has changed over the years. It used to buy the big names, the IBMs and the Price Waterhouses. I was with Ernst & Young for a while. And it really turns out that clients want good people. They want people that understand something they don't understand or how to approach something. And so more and more I've seen working with those firms or working alongside those firms is that it really goes beyond the company name and it goes to the people they're bringing to the table. But there's also a lot of folks out there that want an alternative as professionals to those firms or don't even want to start with those firms. It's very rigid. It's a very, at times, tough life, travel, things like that. So there's people that want alternatives. We're giving them that. We're giving an alternative career in consulting versus some of the bigger firms. Companies are always looking to improve no matter what. And they have problems they need to solve. They have goals they need to achieve. And they realize they need the best person or people or company to help them with that. And we're bringing some really talented folks with now a great approach to help them achieve that. Sometimes working alongside some of our competition, sometimes taking work away. So we're helping them build, their companies. And that all helps people on both sides build their careers. So, project consulting, again, is right in the center of what you guys founded this company on.
Well, and I love, just on both sides of the fence, that the client actually, at the end of the consulting arrangement, if they wanted to hire our person, that's not somebody that we don't release to the customer. And I also had a great conversation last week with a candidate, and I said, tell me what you're wanting to do. And this person was currently employed, and with the market conditions that we have right now, people are looking for options. They know their job could be eliminated. There's restructuring, transformation. And this candidate said to me, I'd love to do something consulting related or full-time. Tell me what things you're working on. Right. And it hit me right then and there. The work models are changing. And just like right now, we have unemployment levels. We're not going to agree on the percentage that the government's reporting versus what I believe is the case. But let's just say unemployment's probably around 6%.
All day.
And so, you got 6% unemployment. You've got labor markets changing. You got candidates that won't go to work. So you have higher unemployment and what should be a plethora of candidates, and it's actually not happening. It's crazy. And having different labor structures to deploy talent to either finish a transformation project, go to work full time, or we just need a maternity leave coverage, or we don't know what we're doing. We just need some hands right now. You've got different ways to solution a career, and you have different ways to solution the client's talent needs.
Exactly. We have a client right now that has grown through acquisition. They're looking to consolidate a function. It's really strategic for their future to be able to do this. They need a leader for that new consolidated or future function that will be consolidated. We're going to help them find that leader. And they also need to figure out how they work through this consolidation. People, process, technology, figuring out all those things. And we're going to bring a team together with an approach to help them through that. So they're coming to us getting both ends of the spectrum from one single provider. And of course, we're going to be able to not only find that person, but support that person, grow into that role and grow their new function and really have a vested interest on both sides. So it's really unique. I mean, no other companies really are combining that today. A lot of folks will come in and search, and others will come in and consult, but bringing that together and having sort of the same understanding of that client is really special.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting to see how we've been leveling up with the clients where Bain or Boston Consulting or McKinsey comes in and helps with a big transformation project, and then they turn over the agreed upon Bible of the future, but there's really not enough talent. And the clients will say, hey, you placed our CIO, you know what he or she needs. We've got this big project, you know her or him. What do you think about building out this team to hit the needs? So we have so much intellectual capital or market intelligence from supporting a hire that we can then extend the project faster.
Yeah, and really you're talking about those firms that present and provide strategy, and we're the firm that really helps execute. And that's been, back to the original question, that's an attraction for me. That's been part of my career is executing, getting shit done. Can I say that on the podcast? Right. And I know that's one of the
GSD.
Yeah, GSD. We have that, right? So we're the firm that gets stuff done, right? We bring people in with a practical knowledge, a practical approach, and we help execute. Anyone could, sort of throw out a lot of good ideas, but it's tough to get down into the trenches to really drive initiatives forward, help clients with decisions, help them with past experiences that they haven't had to get around hurdles and to get to a successful completion. We also are happy to do that alongside, again, other consulting firms. As I said earlier, we've overlapped with some of these strategics to help build transformation offices and to take it from there. And we've also worked alongside other firms as they implement a big system and they have all the arms, legs and depth to do that. But we bring in someone maybe who has more of a change management aspect, or really understands how users will adopt that technology and new process. So we also work and complement with a lot of other firms, but it's all about execution.
Yeah. You've had an opportunity to look and work with a lot of different clients now after a year. We service lots of different industries, really those industries that are indicative of Charlotte. What has been your favorite client story at this time and point?
Yeah. Well, there's a retailer in town, and actually I haven't done retail work since like early on in my career, and so it was fun kind of getting back into that. That was going through at crossroads of growth and figuring out how they wanted to sustain that growth or support that growth, and they had one of the big shops help them out, and they needed support in establishing a transformation office to run those initiatives. Well, fast forward, I guess 8 months. I think we have a dozen plus consultants out there now across 4 or 5 different projects, all working arm in arm with our client, really helping them achieve where they need to go in the future. But again, being very practical, very execution minded. And it's been just an incredible journey. And it goes from a history that you all had, the personal relationships you had at that client, and we brought in a little bit of a new viewpoint and a new direction to help them. So it's been a ton of fun. Probably when I think back of clients in my career, probably at the top of the list of client journeys that I've been a part of, and it's just beginning.
Yeah, it's been really
So-
great to see the clients come to us and say, I hear you're doing this. Can you tell me more? I've got this project I can't figure out, if this firm can do it, or, it's been interesting,
Yeah.
the type of work we've been able to attract. And it's been some solo, one project manager.
Or
It's been
teams.
teams now,
Yeah,
teams
yeah.
of teams.
In the case of that last client, we were doing work at another client, and we told that story of how we were going into the field to help them deploy a new process and technology. And they really appreciated that. And we talked about how we were doing it and the why and some of the pitfalls. And they asked us to provide it. I mean, they were thinking about maybe hiring internally for this team. And they realized that we could probably do it a little bit better, a little bit quicker than they could on their own.
Yeah, I do think that's one of the competitive advantages that we will have in consulting versus the other consulting firms that we might have to compete with, is just the tapping into the talent. I mean, we've been doing this for 22 years. There's not a skill set. And I told you this in the interview.
You did.
Bring me the skill set, we will get this delivered. I think we've done a pretty remarkable job. I don't think we've had one consulting project come in that you and the team did not deliver the right talent and completed projects. I mean, the whole year has been,
It's been great.
On wood,
right.
it's been
And
great.
Another reason I joined Accrue is because of course, the history and the success you have, but the assets that you've had in place, right? Incredible, eager sales team, but the recruiting team is beyond anything that I've ever worked with. And you did. I mean, that was my biggest worry, was how are we going to find this talent in the market to build our bench and our team? And you looked at me dead straight and said, don't worry about that. We got that. And I'm like, okay, all right. So coming in, I believed you. I mean, I took the role. But it was the biggest concern, and it changed instantly. The first opportunity we had where we were finding candidates, and not only that, you guys really focus on the candidate first, and so the team was really open to help me work on building the bench, and so we got from the point of having to find candidates to having consultants already and turning it around. And there was one opportunity several months ago where I had a meeting at 9 a.m. I came back here around 10:30, and by like 1 o'clock, we're presenting a couple consultants to this client and wrapping it up by Friday and starting on Monday, because we've been open to attract and find, and giving our value proposition. People are very attractive, and we have like a long list of folks that want to work with us going forward as consultants.
Yeah. And I think that internally to Accrue, there was a little bit of boredom going on when you said everyone was really excited and right. I do think that for our long tenured folks, we're all been yearning to do something new and a new challenge. And COVID kind of changed the work structure internal to Accrue. It felt different after COVID. And we really did just need to define. We always knew we were very relationship driven, but we really just needed to say, look, guys, if this isn't a business of relationships, we don't want to be part of the
Right.
VMS.
Right.
If the VMS has relationships and we can actually build on something, yeah, we'll participate. But the high-powered video game of sending talent through a computer system that you have no influence on or no relationship on the person's career, I think it was just time for us to say, okay, we're going to pursue a different route. The rest of the staffing industry can go to the left. We're going to go to the right, and we'll see you at the end and see how this all turns out.
Yeah.
So I think that we're betting on ourselves, going
Yeah.
back to a podcast that we did a long time ago. I mean, we really just put down, and this is a hard time to be doing that. Like, we're in the middle of a recession. Talent is the most difficult we've ever seen. Boomers are leaving. The rest of the people don't really want to work as hard. And we're trying to solution. So if
Yeah.
we can come up with the solutions to solve the client's needs, then, I think we've got a winning proposition. It's just very hard. Let's
Yeah.
just all admit it's really hard.
And listen, it was a very smart business decision, right? Because you had the assets in place, like I said, you valued relationships, the clients were there, the recruiting engine was there, and it all came together with just a little bit of a turn to deliver something additional to really the same buyers. And so I think it was a brilliant business decision, and it's proving successful. We've grown through this recession, whatever it is, quarter after quarter, and we'll continue to do it with the support that we have, internally, but the reception that we're getting from our clients, it's incredible.
Well, and
So-
you just mentioned the buyers. The buyers have been very open when we talk about it to our clients, they want to know more, and then they start to find projects that they couldn't get done, don't have the resources for. I mean, I think that's been the fun part. They're hungry to find someone that could do this work. There was just never anybody to do the work.
Right, exactly. And the story we tell, again, that's very execution focused, very practical, very flexible in our model, resonates because some other firms are not like that. The bigger firms are very rigid in their approach. And especially for smaller middle market clients, sometimes they're not always bringing their best people forward. The small firms, if you're implementing a system and you're a middle market client, sometimes you'll get, or not sometimes, most times you'll get really a niche partner that just focuses in on that. They don't have the breadth of talent that's really needed to do that completely. I'm working with a client now that's selecting ERP, and one of the vendors gave them to a firm that has 15 employees. And they were initially excited that, oh, it's a small firm, I can really get to relate to that. I'm like, well, relate to them. But I'm like, well, when you need proper project management or the change aspect, or you need to focus on all of the data changes that you need to make, they're not going to have those capabilities. And we'll happily work alongside them, complement them. And so it's really a refreshing story to tell our clients that there's an alternative out there that's not trying to elbow away the others, that's going to work cooperatively with them, that's going to enhance and complement, and just be more successful overall than they would be with one single vendor.
Yeah. So you're coming up on your year, as we mentioned earlier.
Yep.
What is the one thing that you've been most surprised about our AccruePartners when you're reflecting back on the last year? What really resonates with you?
Well, so one of our values is be better than yesterday. And I knew you guys wanted to improve, but I mean, you take it to the nth degree, right? I mean, it was around evolving your model, hiring folks, not just me, others, to help you improve and change the business. And every day we're challenging each other internally on things that we can do better. And then, of course, be better than yesterday is also about helping our clients be better and improving, their businesses. And then as, a consultant, the person always needs to be better, right? And so just you guys really living your values, and not just one of the few values that we have here, right? And you just bring it to life. And I just really appreciate that. And it's something you don't really see. A lot of times it's a poster on the wall, but it's not something that a company really lives and breathes, and you guys do.
Yeah, I think your first 6 months were like Professor Paul. Like, we had Friday trainings, and we had to have our ducks in a row and project management courses. I mean, we've learned a lot. And to be honest with you, I mean, I think I told you this in the interview. I mean, Amy and I were trying to hire someone to teach us what we don't know. Right. And there's a lot we do know about talent. Like we told you, we had the talent supply chains ready to go. We felt very confident on our client list. But what we didn't know was the mechanism to deliver the consultancy practice, and we needed an expert. So much like our entire year, entrepreneurial journey, what you don't know, you go hire. Yeah. And so we had to make a financial, really big investment to, carve it out, and we were willing to do that. It just came at a really interesting time with the economy, but we've been fine. Yeah. But I think the education piece of our Friday, we have training every Friday, and you getting on there and preparing us and testing us. And now it's time to, graduate and prove to Paul that we can stay part of Professor Paul.
And we are proving it. And I enjoyed teaching, but I enjoyed learning. I learning about the local market. Although I lived here, my network really was more global. I knew more people overseas than I did here in Charlotte, probably professionally. And so learning the market, learning the companies you work with, learning the other side of the business even more. I had the luxury of working with a staffing firm, but continuing to learn the way you have gone to market. So this back and forth of teaching and learning has been great. And it's like we're constantly wanting to do that, which is incredible.
Yeah, it's been a pivot for the company. And so it's a small pivot for a large gain. Yeah. Like I think we had a leadership development person that used to say, make a small change and
small shifts.
It was Bill Meeker. That was his thing. He would say just small shift for big impact. Yeah. And I really feel like that's what we were trying to concentrate. We already had talent down. We had the client base down. We had the candidate pool down, but we needed to make a shift in how to challenge us for the next decade of our career and do what we wanted to do rather than being forced into a line piece
Right.
of the staffing business. It really wasn't what we wanted to do.
Yeah. And while we've talked about today, it kind of being a small shift or even a pivot, there are some things that are greatly different. And, the team embraced that and really opened up their minds and their behaviors to do things differently. So for example, on the staffing and the search side, you need to have an open role to fill. Well, on the project side, you need to talk to clients months before something's even going to happen, and you need to kind of float ideas, and you need to kind of ask them questions or leading questions. And they everyone here was embracing that, to learn that and to be able to go out and practice and do that, and it's paying off. But so there are some things that are really a change, and no one shied away from that change. We're still learning ourselves. I'm learning every day. We're all learning, but no one shied away from even the bigger adjustments we needed to make.
Yeah, one thing about Accrue is we're not scared of hard work. Hard work and a sense of urgency should be our mottos.
Yeah. Run toward it. Yep.
Yeah.
So Paul, tell us a little bit about the consulting practice and where you see the business opportunity going from here.
Yeah. So, we've talked about the services that we offer and us wanting to expand, and the consulting market was really ripe for us to expand into. We're working with the same clients that are buying our direct hire and staffing services, but we're providing them a more complete service. So what we do in that area is we have folks like myself and others that have expertise in certain areas. We work with our clients to help them figure out the problems that they're addressing, but more importantly, how to address them, how to take an approach that will fit their environment to get to a resolution. And not only do we scope and help them figure out that approach, of course, we bring together a team of experts to help them drive that forward. And we don't just leave it at that. We don't just place a team and walk away. We have a role internally within our project consulting team called engagement leader. One of us is the engagement leader over every one of our projects. And we have then the responsibility to oversee that over the long haul, helping with advice, but helping with issues, making sure the team has what it needs, making sure the client is getting exactly what they have asked for. And we're there until the conclusion. So we're really giving a real managed service from the very beginning to the very end that differentiates, again, from our staffing and other services. And again, emulates and is exactly what other consulting firms do, but we're doing it with a little bit more of a flexible model.
I mean, the one underlying theme that matches, it's talent. Like, you can't run a project without talent. And so the underlying theme of what we do here at Accrue is talent.
It's the foundation.
It's a solution to deliver the labor in the method that makes the most sense.
Exactly. It's really just adding, a different viewpoint, again, like I said, of how you approach this. And that's a lot what clients look for from consultants. They know what their problems are, and oftentimes they even know what the answer should be. They just struggle with how to get there. What steps do I take to address this? What are some of the pitfalls that others have had that they may encounter? That's another thing consultants bring to the table. And of course, then the team of experts. And a lot of our consultants, if they had the time, they maybe can be part of that team and drive it forward, but they also have their day jobs. They have to execute their business. They don't have time to address this. So really it's that combination of things that we bring, an approach, a team, an understanding of how it's happened in the past. But we're very much focused on tailoring it to the client. Right? I hate sort of this kind of idea of off the shelf, or I have an approach that works, so follow this. Like, we really work on tailoring it and customizing it, and collaborating with the client up front so they get exactly what's right for them.
Right. You talked about earlier in the conversation the transformation project that we were working on. And I know we always get asked, well, tell us what types of projects. Why don't you give us an idea of the different types of projects in the past year that you've been able to secure and execute?
Yeah. So the one you referred to really was there was a need for strong project management to help execute. Right? So they had idea, they had strategy, but they needed to bring the governance in to be able to drive those a series of initiatives forward, and the overarching governance in a PMO type of a structure. So we help build that that office, and we're now managing that day to day going forward. So that's one of them. We brought in folks to help execute in other areas. Another client was in the midst of implementing a system to the field, and they had a system integrator in doing all the configuration. But when it got to going out to about 400 different locations, to not just even the train, to make sure those folks were understanding the impacts of the change, they hired us. We brought a team in, and still have a team there to help with that, going into the field, working with users, understanding the industry, understanding the process, and helping them adopt to a new process and technology. So we're very people focused. I kind of use the word human centered.
Yes.
It's about, the people side of business, understanding technology, understanding business process, but making sure the people impacted are number one and are being focused on. And that's a big theme to what we do. We've done some accounting projects. Our experience and our client base across every accounting professional and finance professional in the market opens doors for us. And so we've done a handful of accounting projects as well. So we're kind of sticking to that area. We've just brought in someone who has a heavy focus in HR. So we're going to be exploring clients in that area a little bit more. And so we'll continue to grow. We're not everything to everybody. We have to be experts in what we do in the consulting side of the business. But there's plenty for us to help with now. And there's a lot more for us as we learn and evolve as a business.
And I do think we have a wide scope of experience where if you just called an HR transformation company, we have all the expertise in HR transformation, finance transformation, technology transformation. I remember you telling me everything we're going to do is touch technology. We have 6 lines of business. And I thought, okay, this is going to be a lot of the technology piece of our business. Well, ironically, that would be the IT division.
Yeah.
The economy in the last 2 years, has been hammered, but that hasn't affected the strategy around technology use in various areas. So every project we've done, except for maybe the one accounting, and that was using a shit ton of Excel.
Yeah.
We've had, it's all been technology enabled projects. They aren't just sitting in accounting. There's HR transformation projects. We've had a point of sale transformation project. We've had a construction planning project. They're all in our lines of business. They're just so different, but we have expertise because we've been servicing in Charlotte, North Carolina, or the Carolinas, every major corporation other than maybe 2 large banks.
Yep.
And so we have so much experience, and I've seen, even since you've been here, you've brought 2 clients together, 2 major retailers, 2 separate projects. They had no idea what they were doing. We brought these 2 together and the light bulbs went off, and we really became, part of that transformation story. So that's what I'm hoping we'll do more of.
Yep.
It just really seems to be a great need for those projects in the area that aren't accounting, specific off-the-shelf product. There's so much other work.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the company is the breadth that we have across, and being able to bring people with different expertise together, but also again having that knowledge already in house. So when I sit with one of our recruiters or one of our sales folks, it's not really new. It's just maybe a different twist in what they already know. So that expertise combined with my experience and the team's experience really is special.
Yeah, and we have been adding more people to the team that come out of the consultancy career path to help us move forward.
Yep.
So we're kind of moving away from hiring just the staffing skill set. That's gone, and we're moving towards the consultancy with our talent and recruitment pieces that we can deliver so well on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's been a fun challenge. It's different.
It's different. And it's a change because we are unique and how we go about it is unique. And so I've had the luxury of sort of working with a similar firm and learning that and kind of how we can be a provider in an alternative model. And so that's actually become sort of almost a passion of my career too, is being this, sort of taking a different tack, a different approach. And so that's another, challenge, but reward when we talk to clients is that we come at them a little bit differently. And at first they don't expect that. And then when they see that, it resonates and they really appreciate that. And then when we add on, of course, additional services, or when they know us from those additional services, then they have a complete talent provider, right?
Yeah, that's been the exciting part.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's pivot to the rapid fire, since we've been talking about things like that.
Okay.
So rapid fire is the fun part where we kind of get to ask you some local questions and spicy questions. But maybe what's one of your first career memories that really has been most impactful to you?
Career-wise, I had the chance to work overseas, to actually go abroad for a big project. I was actually in a corporate role, or hired to help them through a big project. And it was with a Danish company that asked me to then move to Denmark for 3.5 years. I was married and had kids at the time. And so it really was an adventure for us. Professionally, it was incredible, just learning and working in that environment. But just personally, and it was great. The kids went to international schools, and it opened up their eyes early on. They were just starting school at the time, to a whole nother world. I mean, and I learned a lot about the U.S. during that time as well. So yeah, it was just professionally and personally an incredible opportunity.
Awesome.
So tell us, who's your favorite mentor? Who's the mentor that you think of the most often?
Well, the person that's been my lifelong mentor is my grandmother, my little, I think 4'10" grandmother, who was a woman before her time. Born in 1908, she started working. Her and my grandfather, both born the same year, got married when they were 18. They both started working in professional jobs. Didn't go to college, but still worked in professional jobs. Of course, that was probably 1928 or something. 1929 was when the Wall Street crashed and the Depression started. They worked through that. They delayed having kids till later on, her 30s.
Oh, wow.
She always worked. They had my aunt in 1940, my father in 1946, right before and after the war. But she stayed focused. She was an accountant, which influenced me and influenced my degree in accounting. And she always focused on hard work, just being very focused on what you're doing. And again, she was well beyond her times. People used to look at her, including the family, like she was different, or she was kind of...
A working woman in the 20s is unheard of.
Right. And she lived the American dream in modest jobs, had a vacation home. And, so yeah, she was the most influential person professionally and personally. And my daughter's named after her, Catherine Sophia. So as a namesake because of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us, where do you live in Charlotte? What's kind of your beat of town, and where do you like?
Yeah, so I live out in Cramerton. So we lived in Belmont when we first moved, and we decided to move into another house in Cramerton, an older home that we've been renovating. And so that's been fun. We're on second phase of renovations. We have one more piece we want to work on, and we've settled into a really nice community. My wife and I are very involved in the community out there now, and so that's been fun. So we love the area, and we love the proximity to uptown and close to the airport and all that good stuff. So.
And both of your kids are here, which is amazing.
Both of our kids are here, which was a surprise. I mean, both of them followed me to Clemson, which it made me very happy. But my daughter, she took a role with Teach for America and went to Kansas City. And we thought maybe she was going to move somewhere else after that, but she decided to come back. She's now a teacher at Charlotte Meck School System. Just started, moved from a middle school to a high school this year. Actually, today's her first day of teaching high school. And my son, he went to Clemson, but we thought maybe, he went to high school in New Jersey. We thought maybe he would move back with his buddies to New York or someplace like that. But he took a job here with Deloitte. Following in my footsteps in public accounting. So he's just starting now his second year. And yeah, so it's great. We have the whole group back together, the family together.
That's amazing.
We do stuff all the time together. So
that's great.
So you're our third podcast guest from the Belmont Cramerton area, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a popular spot.
Zip code's growing.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite restaurant?
So out there, I think, and Joe, who was on here before, I think said the same restaurant. There's a little place called the Bottle Tree, which is in an old home that's renovated. But they have an incredible patio and backyard. So dinners are great, seasonal menus. They have great brunches. In Charlotte, I think my favorite restaurant is custom shop. So
Oh, I haven't been there in a
Yeah.
long time. We used to eat there. I love that place.
that's awesome.
And
awesome
I think
place.
if I recall, your son picked up the last tab at the custom shop.
He
and
did.
You were a bit shocked.
You know what? And I'm not proud. I'm not proud enough to say I brought me to tears. So we went there for my wife's birthday, and he was working at the time, and I think maybe he had a one too many drinks. And the check came, and we always joke about who's going to pick it up, and he grabbed it, and he said he was going to pay. So yeah,
So
but my
he's-
wife and I my wife started crying. Of course, that made me tear
Well,
up.
then you just realize instantly he might actually be off the payroll.
Well, yes, yeah, I guess so. He's picked up a tab or two since then.
That's
but,
amazing.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
congratulations
Thank you.
on that.
Thank you. Wonderful
So,
kids.
well, we thank you for the podcast today and helping share our story as we really set up Accrue for the future and what we believe the talent market will be very tailored. It's a new piece of our language is the tailored talent solution, because we do believe the needs of the clients are going to be custom, and not every cookie cutter solution is the way to go, and we've got the resources to provide it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for believing in me and believing in yourselves to take this this move and change, and let's just dominate the market.
Yeah, looking
Yep.
forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks.